Welcome everybody to our office hours for Stitchcraft Marketing. I'm Leanne Presley. I'm the founder and CEO of our agency, and we specialize just in marketing for fiber, fabric, and hard craft companies. And today we're going to be talking about Gen Z, and I would just maybe make that a little bit more broad and say digital natives broke the marketing funnel. So I recently read an article that just completely blew me away. I'm going to give you the link to it, but I just have not stopped thinking about this subject since I read this article, and I thought it might be really great for all of you to learn about how we can shift our marketing strategies based on this younger audience that everybody says that they really want to attract and bring in. So more reading for you here. We do our office hours as blog content so that you can revisit that later on. And if you're a reader and you prefer to read, this is the link right here where you can find that blog article. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the social marketing, the social media shift that we're seeing. How the marketing funnel, at least for these younger audiences, has really started to become more of a loop rather than a funnel. We've renamed our know, like, and trust to this formula. So know to the second degree, like to the second degree, and trust, which might be just an easy way to help you guys understand how to start thinking about marketing to the younger generation. And then we'll focus on a customer-centric experience. All right. So how can you break a funnel? Like I said, this article that I read in March just really blew me away. It's from Vogue Business, and they published this article. The title is called Gen Z Broke the Marketing Funnel. And what they really mean is just that digital natives, millennials, and Gen Z are really engaging with brands in a much, much different way than our older generation, right? And we know, Abby, you said you own a quilt shop, so you're probably very familiar with your audience, which is typically 60 years old is the average age that we see in a quilt shop. And the same is probably true for yarn shops and other hard crafts that that demographic has typically been older, that boomer, Gen X, and we have understood how to market to them forever and ever. And it's been kind of a formula. But we now know that these younger audiences are really changing the way that they engage with brands. So we'll go through that today. So the social media, of course, is entertainment, it's marketplace. This is going to be news sources, university, as well as a social hub. It is serving all these purposes for a younger audience. And digital natives are exposed to a lot more advertising than any other generation. They're just completely bombarded with it, just like I guess all of us are in our regular lives online. But I think what's happened is the younger audiences are becoming distrustful. They tune out to whether that be a direct advertising message or even some of our content that where we're trying to be generous, we're trying to be helpful, is still perceived with a little bit of skepticism. And we know 80% of Gen Zs and 73% of millennials say that they're exposed to more brands and advertising than any other generation. So we do know this, the data bears this out. So what do we know so far about our marketing funnel? We have a buyer's journey, and this is the research process that a buyer goes through leading up to a purchase. And forever and ever, this is the model that we've used to help sales and marketing folks understand your consumers' problems. And then you step in as the savior, as the hero to solve those problems. And you nurture that trust relationship with that customer. And a lot of times there's that return cycle, right? So if someone's coming in, they might not know anything about your business, and they start at that know part of the funnel, and then they move into the like, which is this consideration stage, and then the trust part, which is hopefully where they are deciding to buy from you and where we see the most conversions happening. And we've always laid it out like this. We talk a lot about who you are. This is what they're asking of your business. Who are you? Why should they care about your business? Why are you the expert in the business? And how can they benefit from either purchasing from you or learning from you? And with this change to a younger audience, the pieces are still there, but the order just changes, right? So I want you to think a little bit about the know and the like here as we move into the new formula. So our new know, like, trust becomes a different formula, which is know times know and like times like plus trust. And that's how we get to our exponent formula here. So you're going to invest more time in the know, more time in the like, and trust will inevitably result. So when we're talking about know, the kind of content that you're going to be putting out there is inspiration, for example. So using your social media to find new ideas. They're using social media to find new ideas, new brands, new shops. They're using this exploration mechanism and using social media as a search engine to compare your brand and your experience. In the like part, definitely community. They want to engage with customers in a way that is not transactional. They do not want to feel like you're selling to them. They love unboxings. They love tutorials, lots of generosity and give content. Another big player here is UGC, which is user-generated content, and content creators or influencer opinions. These are the proverbial Kim Kardashians out in the world, folks that have already developed authority with an audience, and your consumer is looking to them to make a referral or to endorse or bring that trust component to the purchase decision. So here they're going to be sharing, you're going to be sharing customers UGC, which makes them part of your story. And then that creates stakeholders. The other really interesting thing about young people is they all, not all, many of them aspire to be, whoops, sorry about that. They aspire to be influencers. So they want to be the person out there taking the beautiful photographs and posting the cool shots, and they want to be seen as an influencer. So bringing them in as stakeholders and allowing that natural thing to happen is something else that we're encouraging. And of course, testimonials. They need lots of proof. They are not just going to your website and deciding whether or not they want to buy this particular type of fabric or this skein of yarn, right? They are going all over the internet to look at testimonials. They're looking at TikTok videos to see who else is making something with that fabric or that bag pattern or whatever that happens to be. And that's how they come into your story and build that trust with you and get to the point where they're buying from you. All right, so lastly, of course, we have trust, and that's always been about loyalty. Customers believe in you and your business because you've presented a complete narrative. Word of mouth, it's always been important, and now with our very interconnected world, younger people are definitely connecting with each other, and that word of mouth just becomes so much more powerful. So the UGC and advocating for your brand is available as people search for inspiration on social media. So you need to make sure that you've got that kind of content out there in the world so that it is available for these younger audiences to pick up on. So creating a customer-centric experience, we want you to focus on consumers and community instead of brand. I want you always to be thinking about these questions. How does your brand help your consumer? How does your offerings support their goals? And can you answer that question for your consumer? How do they want to support you and your brand? So how do you change your strategy now? Just a couple of recommendations that we have and how we've changed our strategy for clients that do want to focus on this audience. Always and forever, we want to be generous with our content. So that means tutorials, helpful tips, tricks, being generous with your time. If you've got a brick and mortar store, making sure that you are offering classes and all those kind of supportive generosity pieces of marketing that are deemed as helpful by your customer. Increase your UGC content. That means going out into the internet and finding content that your customers have created using hashtags or specifically mentioning your brand or your company or your products and bringing that over with either tagging them or bringing them over to your feeds or featuring them. There's a lot of different ways that you can utilize user-generated content. So definitely step that up. Reviews. I want you to be aware of all the places where you are being reviewed and where people are talking about you and your brand. If, for example, Abby, you said you have a brick and mortar shop, you probably need to have your finger on the pulse of your Google business listing, which appears for any search right front and center for your business, and make sure that you're checking those reviews, you're responding to those reviews, and soliciting them. So if a customer's in your shop and they're raving about how wonderful something is, go ahead and ask them to do a review on some of those review sites. I think that's definitely helpful. Remember that we live in an omni-channel marketing world, so you need to be in all the places where digital natives are researching. So that might be TikTok, for example, Instagram, YouTube. Those are all the places where they are searching before they make a final purchase. I always like to give the example of my daughter who's 21, and she will do so much research before she purchases anything. I like to joke that even when we go out to a restaurant in a new town or whatever, we don't just walk into the restaurant. I mean, those days are long, long gone. First, she's got to check all the reviews and see which ones on a TripAdvisor or Yelp have the highest star ratings. Then she ranks them all. Then she goes in and reads all the individual reviews. Beyond that, she goes over to the website or wherever it is on the internet and pulls down images and photographs of everything on the menu to make sure that she knows exactly what she's ordering before she makes that commitment. And in my mind, I'm a Gen Z, so I'm a Gen X. So I'm like, come on, that's ridiculous. Doing all that research and time and energy, just pick something on the menu. That's not how they operate. That's not how they shop. So you as a business, if you, for example, were a restaurant, you need to make sure that your reviews are really good. You need to make sure your star ratings are high. You need to make sure that you're in all those places. You need to make sure you got photos of the food. So again, this will extrapolate to you as a craft business, making sure that you've got all those check boxes checked and that you're putting content out in all these places like YouTube, like Instagram, and like TikTok, so that they're out there for them to consume and move through that know, like, and trust funnel to get to the point where they do trust you and they do want to buy from you. Lastly, consider an influencer program. At Stitchcraft, we do have a formal program where if you have products or brands or things you want to promote, we have a list of about 300 content creators, influencers, microbloggers, all sorts that want to feature your program, your classes, your products, your brand, whatever that happens to be. So we can connect you with those people that are out there in the internet putting out this type of content that your digital natives are using to make their judgment call about your brand and your company. So the more that you have that out there, the better the chances are that they're going to pick up those little breadcrumbs and become a longtime consumer for you. All right, so that's everything I have for you today. If you've got any questions, we will definitely take some time to do that. I don't know, Rebecca, do we turn off recording before we take questions, or do we include those?
We've turned it off.
Turn it off. Okay, so I will turn off the recording.